Paltrocast.
Rome, aside from having to talk to this guy, good day for you so far?
Amazing, brother. Beautiful. I'm in my favorite venue. Life's good.
Which venue is that?
This is the Meriwether Amphitheater.
Oh, yeah. In
It's
Maryland, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Nice.
it's incredible. I mean, it's beautiful back here. They got a swimming pool and everything.
Well, we're going to come back to the tour, but first, let's talk about Cool and Collected, the new single. Rob Cavallo produced it. Pretty big deal right there. But when did you actually record it?
Actually, Rob Cavallo didn't produce that one. I did.
This guy
But
did.
love Rob Cavallo though. Rob Cavallo worked with us on the last record. That's a mouthful.
I will leave that error in there to show the lack of, the inferiority over here.
Hey
But
man, it's all
produced
good.
it.
I mean,
Okay, that's great.
song hasn't been out that long, so you're all right. But yeah, man, it's a crazy how the whole thing came about. A lot of things in the music industry, it takes a lot of planning, 100 freaking emails, and a lot of planning and stuff to get done. But this happened so relatively natural and fast. I ran into Miles, one of the singers of Slightly Stoopid, backstage at a festival, Cali Vibes, and he was like, dude, we're going on summer tour together. We should do a song, write a song and release it. That way we have a song to play together every night. And I thought, that's a great idea, man. I'm leaving to the studio the very next day to go record our album. So you couldn't have said this at a more perfect time. We went out there, then the very next day to Sonic Ranch. That's where we record our music out in El Paso, Texas.
Right.
And man, I put together an idea, it over to them just to see if they were vibing with it. They loved it, man. They dropped the vocals, threw some horns on it, added a couple of little bells and whistles, sent it back. I finished it up with the guys, and we had it uploaded in like 60 days. Not even like 30 days. It was crazy, man. Things work like that. Very rarely do they move that fast. So I'm really excited that we actually got to put the pedal to the metal and get that thing out summer tour.
So you answered half the question right there. The wife and I last year saw you with Incubus at Jones Beach here in New York, and you did one newish kind of song. It was the hits plus one. In this case, this summer, is it Cool and Collected plus the hits plus another song from the past few records?
So we've been kind of like breaking it up into like rule of thirds, where it's like the hits, legacy, amazing, like the deep cuts for the super fans, and then like a third of just our originals. And then of that, now we're working on what is this? This is gonna be our fourth album. So it's like, we're getting a body of music in and of ourselves where it's like, okay, we got to start pulling some of that stuff. So we've been kind of pulling selectively. There was one night of the tour where I put like a grip of new songs on there from the new album, and yeah, people were kind of like, what are we listening to? We never heard this music before. So there's a balance.
Yeah, it sounds familiar, but it doesn't at the same time. I
Yeah.
think it's great the familiarity that you bring to Sublime with Rome, obviously the namesake of the band. But at what point did you kind of realize that this was going to be a long-term thing? I'd have to imagine that it was first tour was just the first tour, and the first album was the first album, and we'll take it from there. But now you've been there, what, 16 years?
Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's like super crazy. We always talk about that. Like we never thought this would like continue this long, but the music is bigger than us. It's bigger than all of us. And I think that, we've just been like fortunate enough to be able to put on type of performance where the fans keep loving it and keep coming back. And, I think part of that is because of we try really hard to make the live show as live to like the record as possible, and just really make sure that the fans of Sublime are coming out here and not going to get gypped with like 3/4 of the set. Here's our new songs and our new album. It's like, no, this protect the integrity of Sublime at all times. That's like our MO. And I just the kids the people keep showing up. 3 generations now. We get these kids wearing Sublime shirts who half of them kind of know who we are, half of them don't. And then you got like, people like our age showing up to the show. And then you got like the older heads who grew up watching Sublime at parties in Long Beach. So it's like, it's a trip, to be able to have all 3. But long as short, the fans, the whole reason why they just keep coming.
The only 2 bands I can think of that were kings of the California backyard circuit in history were Sublime and Van Halen. Am I missing anyone else that was like a famous California backyard band?
No, that's
It,
about it right there.
it's
Van
just
Halen
that
did the
two.
same thing. You're right about that. Yeah, there's so many people who are like, man, I used to go drink beers with David Lee Roth backstage at UCS. I used to love that shit. That's cool though.
Well, also credit goes to you that you've been active outside of Sublime with Rome. I remember the collaborative track that you had with Blues Traveler a couple albums ago.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
Dirty Heads and you have worked together, etc.
those are my boys. Yeah,
So,
man, it's been a crazy life.
so you're
It's been
not
fun.
just resting on being Sublime with Rome guy. Rome Ramirez has been very, very active for the past 15-ish years or so. Is there a solo album coming in the future?
Man, for sure. After this record, that's what I'm locking away and doing. I'm doing this next Sublime record, and I've been putting away music, and I do it like a lot of music producing and songwriting for other artists. So that was like a big, I've always wanted to really dive into that, and that's what I've done for the longest time. When I came home from Sublime, from like Sublime tours, but it's just like made me really like just antsy to like put out my own music, and I finally kind of gave in to that like hunger that I had. So I've been putting away music and kind of visualizing how it's all going to go down, and I look forward to getting that out probably like 2025 or something. But you got to think far in advance this stuff.
The solo material, is it the exact opposite of Sublime? The reason I ask that is because guitarist
Yeah,
Creed does a solo record in the last year or two, and it's Frank Sinatra covers, and he's a crooner kind of thing. Usually the solo album's the exact opposite of the day job.
yeah, that's a good point. Because you don't want to like. I hate, from my personal experience with my favorite bands, when the singer would go make a solo record that sounds like better songs than the band's last album, but with not as good players on it. I'm like, this is bullshit. You robbed me of it. Like, so my whole thing, man, is like Sublime is the identity that everyone knows me as, because that was like where that's the band that I joined. Um, but my actual sound preference and style is, if you see me enough, you'll probably pull some of it. But I'm really inspired by like Motown kind of soul and stuff like that. So
Sure.
like, my like project in my mind, that the kind of songs I write were kind of like more like Jack Johnson meets like Stevie Wonder, Black Pumas kind of vibe. And that's like the place where I operate. Reggae is a huge part of my life, so it'll naturally just be in there. I couldn't get away from reggae if I even wanted to. So, but
I get it. You do have the soulful voice. You just happen to also be able to sing like Brad, which is again
hey man, I'm grateful for that. That's cool. I mean, shit, I learned it all from him, like he's the whole reason why I even got into singing in the first place. And
yeah.
then people like Lauryn Hill and Stevie Wonder just showed me like things that you can do with your voice that I just didn't know you can.
It reminds me of how Paul Stanley from Kiss, when he's not doing Kiss, he does the music that's the exact opposite, which is Soul Station, which is him covering Motown. So
That's
I think that
awesome.
there's a lot of Motown people out there.
Yeah, man. It's beautiful music. It has just, I like the production of it and everything, the simplicity,
Yeah.
but and the grittiness. I don't know. I can just totally relate to it. My mom was always playing oldies and soul and even some of the really early, reggae music, like the early Bob Marley, even like it's so heavily inspired by that 50s kind of Motown doo-wop kind of,
Yeah,
sound, and I mean I can just hear something and trace it back to that always. So yeah, I gotta chase that.
for sure. Well, another thing I'm trying to figure out, the more people I speak to from the punk and hard rock communities, the more I realize that everyone's a golfer. Are you part of the secret golf punk ska community?
Nah, man. I wish, man. Bunch of cool people play golf, and they always ask me to go play, and I'm just like, nah, I don't want to go out there and make a fool of myself. I don't, I was just talking about this yesterday with my manager, but like, I don't have any hobbies other than just making music. This is like all I do. Like, I wish I'll get a video game and I'll play it for like a day and then get frustrated and never touch it again. So I learned to not buy video game stuff. But I have a bunch of kids, and I got a beautiful big family, and And I spent all of my time just like, hanging with them and making records. And I love that. I don't have enough time to make like more records that I want to make. So I can't golf right now. Maybe when I'm older, like 60 or something.
One day. Well, two quick questions and then I'll let you go. And the
What's
first
that?
question is, you mentioned Brad and Sublime was, why you became what you became, but what was the first record that you bought?
The first record I ever bought was self-titled, Sublime.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. No, I'm like, this ain't a marketing pitch or nothing. Like, they were the first band that I ever fell in love with.
So you don't have a
I got
band
into
like
guitar.
MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice kind of origin story.
No, like I listened to like my mom, because I discovered Sublime when I was 11 years old. So prior to that, like, I wasn't really buying any CDs and shit. I was just out there listening to what was KMEL. I really like rap music. I'm from the Bay Area, and KMEL Jams was like the biggest radio station in the Bay. So like, and I was young, and the Bay is like really hip hop dominant anyway. So it was just, that was my shit. And then one summer I heard Sublime, and it was game over, man. I was like, take these jerseys. I want fucking tank top, like it just, yeah, I like completely transformed the person I am because I heard the music and fell in love with it. And it was like, I don't know, it just seemed like an escape from like everything that I had, in where I was and stuff. Even at such a young age, it was just like, this is a whole identity that's different, unique. And I love the sound. So I went home and asked my dad, I'm like, yo, can you buy me the CD? And I asked my mom, and she was like, hell no, a bunch of bad words on it. And then I asked my dad, and he was like, yeah, for sure, I got you. So thank God
The
for that.
back cover, is it the CD of the album that has the guy with the beer bottle?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
he's like naked holding the bottle, and he's like smoking a spliff, and he's got porn on the walls. My mom was like, dude, you're way too young to be listening to this.
And the rest is history. I'm sure they're proud. But last question I got for you. Whatever life is like at home is the exact opposite on the road. There's a lot of downtime. People don't realize that. They think that the backstage is exciting. Usually the backstage is the most boring part of the venue. There's a bunch of nervous people pacing and trying to keep their
figuring out what to
sanity.
do.
So when you go on stage, obviously the adrenaline peaks and all that. How long does it take you to kind of come down? Like when you get off stage, can somebody talk to you within 30 seconds, or do you need at this point a couple of hours to like wind down?
Well, I mean, I can talk. I mean, I don't have any prerequisites. Like if someone catches me in the hall on the way, I'm like, hey man, how's it going? I haven't seen you in a minute. That's fine. But I do know some artists that are like, I need 15. But I like having about 5 to 10 minutes. 10. I like having 10 to 15 minutes with just me and the guys backstage, and just locker room talk. Just be like, dude, remember that one guy who freaking threw a shoe and it hit your drum? Like, dude, what was up with that? I'm like, hey, did you mess up that little horn part? And he's like, yeah, I hit the wrong. Just game tape, and just going over and ideas and high-fiving. And then we always do this. We'll tell our security guy, like, all right, you can let everyone in now. And then everyone comes in and everyone gets drinks. They're like, dude, best show I ever seen. Good to see you. So that's cool.
Josh Freese must have been the king of that.
Oh man, Josh. Well, yeah, Josh he's he definitely has hit a routine down. You can't be someone like Josh Freese without having a routine down. Like,
No.
this guy's like one of the most prolific musicians in rock and roll history. I'll say it.
It's not just P.F. Chang's and cat photos.
No, dude, or Bono. But what you see is what you get. That is just Josh Freese to the T. He's great. But yeah, no, he's a rock star, man. He's got his own. Every musician up there has like kind of their own regimen, and it's funny, you can offshoot it by like one beer, like it can go north or south. So it's like you got to have your regimen down every night.
Well said. Well, Rome, thank you for the many years of great music. Looking forward to the next Jones Beach show. Looking forward to the solo record. Looking forward to the full length that Cool and Collect is from. Just a lot to look forward from you and crew. So thank you for being you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for the love.
Paltrocast.